Hi, let's go over a little bit of how the air conditioning in your home actually works. And we'll call this course Air Conditioning 101. So for air conditioning to work, you basically have an outside unit, which we'll make this side here called the outside. And this wall will be your house basically. And you have an inside unit. So what is outside is the compressor and a fan and a condenser coil. So out here you have a fan, and we'll draw a fan with some fan blades. You have a coil, which is called an evaporator. I'm sorry, a condenser. And you have a compressor. So when this thing runs outside, you'll hear the fan blowing, and you mostly hear the compressor. It makes kind of a groaning, grinding, motor kind of sound. And this is all housed in a nice little neat unit outside. And to make this unit work, you need power. So there's a little box that is above this thing that looks like a fuse box. It's very small. And this has a breaker in it. We'll call it a B for breaker. And sometimes you have another box here, which is from your power company, which will turn off and on this compressor depending on the situation of demand on their power system or power grid. So in California, you have this additional box sometimes. In San Diego, probably for sure. In the Bay Area, not so sure about that. So here you have 220 volts in, and you must have this 220 volts in here working. If you don't, the condenser will not get freon from the compressor spinning, and you will have no AC. So 220 into here. Now, inside your house, you have a unit in your basement or upstairs, and that unit basically is the evaporator and a fan. So we'll draw another little coil in here. Coils that the air goes through, and that's called your evaporator. Now, your evaporator will connect your condenser through your house wall with two pipes. These are copper pipes. One pipe is thick, so we'll draw that as a double line. Pipes. And the other pipe is thin. The thin pipe is always hot, and that's freon returning from here to here. So we'll draw arrows here for direction. It's going this way. And the cold pipe has freon going up to the evaporator to be evaporated. So this is the cold pipe. So as you recall from being a kid or going in a pool, when you put water on your skin and then the wind hits you, the water will evaporate off your skin. You become dry. But in the event of becoming dry, the water evaporates, and that makes you cool off. So that's why you see kids with a hose spraying on them, because the water cools them off because it evaporates. So that's how an air conditioning system works. The freon goes through these pipes, and freon is a chemical synthesized by scientists and such. But the freon will travel from, and this is a closed system, so inside the system you have freon going from being compressed by the compressor, going going out to the evaporator, evaporating, causing cool air, and then the hot air is taken, or the hot temperature is going back through the Freon to the condenser, and then it's released by the fan here as hot air outside the house where it belongs. So basically, this system has to be working. You have to have Freon moving continuously in these directions. And this compressor will make a lot of noise, and the fan has to blow, and you gotta get hot air out of here. Inside your house, the evaporator has a fan which is up in your ceiling, and it's causing all this air to go out through vents in your house to keep you cool. So that's all well and good. You're saying, yeah, I know how that works. So I'm glad you do. So how then do you fix this stuff when it breaks? Well, you got to check the power at both points. So here, you got to make sure it's 220 volts is going into this compressor. This circuit has to be live for it to work. This system here may work off the same 220 volt breaker in your fuse box, or it may not. This might work off of 110 and volts and have a different breaker. This one's always 220. 220 volts. So now inside your house, you have a thermostat, which you know and love very well, because you can ask their thermostat to keep you cool at 72, and it probably will. So when you command the thermostat to keep you cool, the thermostat will send a signal to a box up in your attic or in your basement called a control unit. I'll call that a CU. Thermostat then has wiring, probably 5 wires, maybe 6. So there's a bundle of wires here going from thermostat to the control unit, which is near your air conditioning up in your house, in your basement, or up in your attic. The control unit then, when thermostat is told to cool off the house, a relay in here will close, or maybe it's solid state, and it tells the control unit, yes, these people want cool air. The control unit will tell this system here, your evaporator unit, to start working. They also send a signal. You'll see a wire that comes out along, that goes along these pipes here. It could be taped to the pipes, it could go along. There's a wire that goes out along these pipes to the condenser, and the condenser itself has its own control unit. Okay? This could be outside or inside, but basically when the thermostat wants you to cool off, it'll tell the control unit in your house they want cooling. It'll tell the control unit outside you want cooling. So the first thing you do is, if you call for cold, so you call for cold air, you do that by telling this thing you want cold, you want AC. So thermostat goes to AC mode. The control unit goes, okay, I'll turn the fan on inside the house. Once I sense the temperature here is low and there's cold air to be had, he'll turn the fan on then. It won't turn it on usually immediately. And outside, this control unit will turn on the condenser ASAP. So as soon as you tell this guy to go to AC mode here, your thermostat, this guy, you'll hear it outside making a hum sound, okay? This might run for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, we don't know. But once the temperature here on this evaporator gets cold, the control unit has a sensor, and it senses, yes, we're cold. It'll turn the fan on in the house, and there you go, you get cool air. So cool air coming down your house, cooling you off. It's removing the hot air. Hot air is going out. Hot temperature is going out to the Freon here, to the outside, and then it's hot air is coming out this unit outside. So to make all this stuff work, all this stuff has to be true. Let's go over what those things are. 1, you need 220 volts outside at the compressor. So that would be right here, outside. This stuff may come from your fuse panel. So in your garage or somewhere, you got a big fuse box. It's going to have AC breakers in it. Those have to be ready to go and set. The AC breakers from your fuse box in your house or maybe outside your house in California, those breakers will feed this little breaker box outside. And out here, they have the breakers replicated. There's 2 more breakers right here for safety required in California. So outside, these 2 breakers in this box, they have to be ready to go and set. The power box from your power company, you may or may not participate in the power company's saving feature. They usually cut you a break, and this little box is outside that they put on. They can cut off your AC with this box, cut off your compressor, which cuts off all your AC. So if they're in a mode where your AC is turned off, you won't get AC. Sometimes you'll see a red light on here. That could be one reason why you're not working. Okay, so let's get back into the control unit here in the house. This control unit is rather smart. As you know, you may not know, when you have an evaporator blowing hot air in your house through here, hot moist air, the moist air will condense into water. So up in your attic, there's usually a pan, a big plastic pan, that's below your AC unit. And so this evaporator is basically like a little radiator. It has fins in it and air blowing through it, and water will condense in those fins, and it drips down into a pan. And this pan will have a pipe. The pipe goes outside your house, and sometimes they drip the pipe through the attic onto the sidewalk, and that's called condensate water. Sometimes that pipe will go into a drain pipe in your bathroom upstairs, and if this pipe gets clogged, and this little tub here, which is usually a good, few inches, it's probably about that high, if that thing fills with water, there's a sensor right about here that's plugged in, and all that sensor does is it has a probe here, and when the probe touches water, the sensor goes, oh no, and it sends a signal back to the CU. So when this tub here is full of water, because the water's not leaking, or it's not being transported away from your evaporator, you can get a flood in your attic. This will start coming down through your plaster, down through your ceiling. So the control unit will stop the AC because there's water in the tub. So you want to go up into the attic if it's not working, inspect if that drain is working, if there's water up there or not. I've seen a few cases where that happens. So the easiest thing to do is, if you're not getting AC, you want to first check your thermostat. Make sure you hear it click. Make sure you're turning it on right. You want to put this thing into hold mode, H-O-L-D, hold mode, hold temperature, and then go to AC. That's the simplest thing to do first, and see if this compressor outside will go on. If that is working, and you're sure the thermostat's okay, then basically the next easiest thing to do is go outside and check the compressor, make sure the power is going to it. How do you check that? I don't know. Be careful. The third thing you might want to check is there power to the evaporator unit up there? And sometimes you got to crawl up in your attic with a ladder and look at this thing and see if there's lights on it, and there's lights in the control unit. Are those lit up? That's all well and good. So that's really about it. There's extreme cases where if this condenser is low on Freon, and if you're running your system, you've been kind of forcing it to run, and the house never got very cool, but this thing runs all the time, then the compressor will fail and burn up because it uses Freon for coolant to cool the system off and lubrication. And so if the Freon's low, the compressor can't cool and it can't lubricate, and it goes bad, and you need a whole new AC unit outside. So you don't want it to happen. So if this thing is not cooling well, you want to get an AC guy out here to add more Freon. Add Freon. In most cases, this system will cycle, meaning that if you call the temperature for 72, it'll bring you down to 72. All the stuff turns off for 5-10 minutes, and then it calls again for temperature to go down. This runs again for 5 minutes, shuts off 5 minutes, runs 5 minutes, shuts off. That's how it works. If your stuff is running all the time, running for an hour, running for 2 hours straight, shut it down. You immediately have to get Freon in here. Or you got to check if there's restrictions in the fan here, or squirrels putting stuff in here. Is there junk, piled on top of this thing? Here in the house, are the filters clean for the evaporator? The filters in the ceiling, are those clean? That's about it. So hopefully this helped you understand how your home air conditioning works. I know it's a lot to take in, but it's necessary to learn this stuff. So again, to review, this is simply a cycle of Freon going out of the evaporator into the compressor. It's compressed again, goes in as cold, and it evaporates out, and then you get cold air out of here, you get hot air out of here. This thing outside has to be humming, and the fan has to be blowing, and the compressor has to make a sound like that. Inside here, the fan inside the house will be delayed because the control unit will look at the evaporator temperature, and when this temperature drops, the fan inside the house will go on. If this temperature does not drop enough, it probably won't turn the fan on. And again, that means you got to add more Freon to get the system working efficiently, to get this temperature to drop, to get the fan in the house to come on. So hopefully this all makes sense to you, and you can make corrective action, and you can be intelligent when the AC guy comes. So that's about it. A good AC guy will come, and if your system's really screwed up, some of the best AC guys I know will suck all the Freon out of here. So they'll remove every single bit of Freon from the system. They'll suck it out with a vacuum pump. And then they'll put a new little filter in here. You'll see a little blue or black filter on the thin pipe here. And that filter takes out contaminants from your Freon. And so that filter should get replaced outside. And then he'll evacuate it by sucking all the air out, and he'll put a new Freon. Your system will probably work like $1 million. That's happened to me a few times in the past where I got a good AC guy and he fixed it really nice. So hopefully this helps you, and stay cool. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.